If you've ever made a split-second decision that changed how you see yourself forever, this story is for you. And before we begin, if stories that feel real, raw, and stay with you long after the video ends mean something to you, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It helps these stories find the people who need them most. It started with a whisper that didn't match the quiet of the hallway. I was coming back from work, keys in hand, head full of unpaid bills and unfinished thoughts, when my married neighbor leaned out of her door and said softly, almost nervously, "My husband is on a trip." She paused, as if weighing the rest of the sentence. Then she looked at me, really looked at me, and added, "Could you help me move some furniture?" It should have been an ordinary favor between neighbors. But something in her voice told me it wouldn't be. Her name was Elena. We had lived door to door for almost 3 years, exchanging polite smiles, the occasional borrowed tool, and small talk about the weather or the elevator that never worked right. She was always composed, always careful, the kind of woman who kept her life folded neatly inside herself. Her husband, Victor, was rarely home. When he was, his presence filled the corridor before you even saw him, loud laughter, heavy steps, the smell of cologne that lingered too long. Everyone knew he traveled often. Everyone also knew Elena became quieter whenever his name came up. I hesitated for a moment, standing there with my keys still in my hand. Helping a neighbor move furniture wasn't unusual. But the way she had emphasized that her husband was away felt like a line drawn in the air. Still, I nodded. "Sure," I said. "Just tell me where." Her apartment felt different from mine, not bigger or smaller, just heavier. The curtains were half closed even though it was still daylight, and the air carried a tension that made me lower my voice without realizing it. She pointed to a couch near the window. "I want to move it to the other wall," she said. Her hands trembled slightly as she tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. We started with small things. A chair. A lamp. Normal, harmless tasks. But as we worked, silence stretched between us, thick and uncomfortable. Finally, as we struggled to lift the couch, she exhaled sharply and said, "I'm sorry. I should have hired someone." Her voice cracked on the last word. I set my end of the couch down. "It's okay," I said. "We can take a break." She nodded but didn't sit. Instead, she leaned against the wall, arms crossed as if holding herself together. That's when she started talking, not looking at me, words spilling out like they had been waiting for the door to open. She told me how lonely the apartment felt when Victor was gone, and how suffocating it felt when he was home. She spoke about conversations that turned into arguments, about promises that were always postponed to after the next trip. She admitted she had asked me over not just for help with the furniture, but because she needed another human being in the room, someone who would listen without judging her for staying, or for wanting to leave. I listened. That was all I did. And somehow, that was everything. I didn't move closer. I didn't offer advice that sounded smarter than it was. I just listened while she spoke about fear, about feeling invisible in her own marriage, about wondering when she had started measuring her life in days instead of dreams. At one point, she looked at me with tears in her eyes and said, "I don't know why I told you all this." I answered honestly. "Maybe because you needed to say it out loud." She gave a small, grateful smile, the kind that carries both relief and sadness. We finished moving the couch together, slower this time, more careful. When it was done, the room looked different. Lighter. As if shifting the furniture had shifted something inside her too. She thanked me and walked me to the door. For a moment, neither of us moved. The silence returned, but it wasn't as heavy. It was thoughtful. That night, I lay awake longer than usual. I kept replaying the way she had whispered that first sentence, the trust hidden inside such a simple request. I realized how easy it would have been to misunderstand the situation, to turn a vulnerable moment into something it shouldn't be. And I also realized how rare it is to be invited into someone's truth, even briefly. Over the next few weeks, things changed in small ways. Elena smiled more when we passed in the hallway. Sometimes we talked for a few minutes, nothing deep, just human. I never went back into her apartment while her husband was away. She never asked. The boundary we hadn't discussed was clear, and it mattered. One evening, she knocked on my door. This time, her voice was steady. She told me she had decided to leave Victor. Not dramatically, not with anger, but with a calm certainty that surprised even her. "Helping move that couch made me realize something," she said. "I can change the position of things in my life. I don't have to stay stuck." I congratulated her, not because I knew her future would be easy, but because I knew it would be hers. After she left, I stood by the door for a long time, thinking about how often we confuse help with interference, kindness with expectation. That day taught me that sometimes the most powerful thing you can offer someone is your presence without an agenda. Months passed. New neighbors moved in. Life continued in its ordinary, complicated way. But that whisper in the hallway stayed with me. It reminded me that integrity isn't tested in big, dramatic moments alone, but in quiet choices no one else sees. It reminded me that respecting someone's vulnerability can be more meaningful than any grand gesture. If you've ever been asked to help carry someone else's weight, even briefly, remember this: you don't have to fix their life to make a difference. Sometimes, just helping them move the furniture is enough to help them see a new way forward. And if this story resonated with you, if it made you pause or reflect on your own choices, like the video and subscribe to the channel. More stories like this are waiting, and the next one might speak directly to where you are right now.